guys, how's it going? It's TJ with F&P Wargamers today, and I just wanted to do another TJ's Neighborhood. So, a couple things I wanted to touch on. I got a request. One of the guys asked me about, he lives in the Houston area, he asked me about priming models and stuff in Houston. So I wanted to give a little background on how I prime models here. Well, during spring and most of summer, it's so hot and humid out that it's really hard to prime here in Houston with just the moisture. So what I like to do is I usually use the Chaos Black Primer or whatever they're calling it now. Just that does make it a lot easier to prime. And usually what I do is either I do it early in the morning in my garage because all the humidity is kind of out of it there, or I wait till about 10 to 11 at night and I do it on my back patio. There's usually a little less humidity and moisture. Now, for all other types of primers, I don't even bother trying during the really humid times in spring and summer. Don't even bother with it. But during winter and fall, in the early parts of spring when it's not humid, kind of like it is right now, I've used Army Painters. I've used their bleached bone, kind of the bleached bone color skull. And then I've also used kind of like a Mephiston red that they have. And the one primer I will never ever recommend anyone to buy in this Houston area is the Skull White primer from GW. I've never got a can that actually worked right. I'm pretty sure most of you who live in the Houston area have had the same experience. I've done everything, shaken the crap out of it, done anything pretty much, and never really worked. It always comes out very dusty or puts little kind of weird little pigment weird things on it. You know, it's really, I've never had a can that worked. But as far as that, most of the stuff I use Chaos Black. I've never had a problem with it, and it always seems to cover really well, and I've been using it for quite some time. So hope that answers your question, bud. And now I'm going to get on to what I really wanted to talk about. I know with a lot of the 8th edition stuff, you know, today they just dropped about formations, all the other cool stuff on 8th that, you know, they've been giving bits and pieces, shooting, charging, all the other stuff. But what I wanted to go through today with you guys is I think the coolest part of 40k is how we're getting to 8th edition fluff-wise. I'm sure Gathering in the Storm, I'm sure most of y'all have bought all the stuff for the rules. Kind of sucks as they're all going out the window. But the most important thing, especially in the Rise of the Primarch, is the fluff and how we actually get to this point in the Warhammer universe in the 41st millennium. So I'm going to kind of go through the book, give y'all an overview summary. If I get excited or stuff slips, maybe just don't pay attention to that. But so I'm going to kind of go over the book, and which I think is actually the coolest part of how we've actually got there. So the book starts out with basically on Ultramar. So basically on Ultramar, the Black Legion is assaulting. They're trying to destroy Ultramar. Magnus Calgar and Sicarius and all those guys are trying to defend against them. You know, all this crazy crap is going on. You know, they're basically, Ultramar is getting effed up by the Black Crusade. Abandon is not here. It's one of his generals, and he's trying to do everything, and basically they are getting annihilated. You know, they are getting blown up. Everything happens. Then, Webway Portal, blah, blah, blah. The Inari and Bellis Crawl, Saint Celestian, let's see here, the Black Templars all come through. You know, they want to have a meeting with Magnus Calgar, you know, so they're walking through it. You know, it's kind of crazy. Greyfax is going a little weird, you know. She's like, what is Saint Celestian? She's some sort of weird psychic abomination. I must kill her, you know. And so we're going through all that, right? And then, so they come through Ultramar, you know, boom. The first thing they want to do is have a meeting with Magnus Calgar, right? And he's like, what the heck is going on? Then they pop up on another planet. I forgot the name of the planet. And then they want to go to basically McCrag to talk to all them. So they get on. You know, at first, they're very speculative. The Ultramarines are like, what the F is going on? Who are you, all these people? Blah, blah, blah. They work through all that madness and all the hoopla and whatever. And then they finally get to McCrag. and they want to basically meet with Magnus Calgar and everything like that. So, you know, Tigurius is there. He kind of goes about looking at, kind of observes what Greyfax and the, and you know, the, you know, that Eldar chick. I don't even know her name. Who really wants to know the Eldar chicks? But that's so they finally get to Macragge and they want to go through and they want to have this meeting, right? And Tigurius is very wary. The first captain, Agamemnon, I think is his name. Please don't actually. Yeah, I don't know what I'm pronouncing because I can't. Not very good at the pronunciation, especially coming with all this GW stuff. So they want to meet with them, and you know. They basically give their demands, they say what's going on, the crazy warp storms, all the other stuff, and then Bellis Crawl drops a bombshell. And he's like, I need to go to Robert Guilliam's throne, and where he's been in stasis for the, you know, the last past, like, what, 10,000 years since Fulgrim, like, cut his neck. So, needless to say, Calgar is pissed. He is yelling, he's screaming, you know, they have no clue what's going on, and they're like, whatever. So then, you know, St. Solicitor says, yeah, you should probably let this happen. Then Tigurius kind of does his mind probes, and he's like, yes, they are telling the truth. And then it goes on and then what happens is, you know, Greyfax is kind of like, okay, let's do this. And then Calgar's like, fine. Whatever, we'll do this. You know, he trusts his most trusted compadre there of Tigurius, and so they basically go under very heavy guard from the Ultramarines. You know, it's the it's the veterans of the first company come along with them. You know, they're all very wary on what Krall wants to do. They don't really quite understand it. You know, and so they finally get there, right? And then as they're there, Krall basically is like, hey, here's what we're going to do. I need to kill Guilliman in order to save him. And the Eldar basically says, yeah, that's what we need to do. So immediately Calgar loses his shit. Tigurius loses his shit. They're all like, oh my god, what are you going to do? You're going to kill our Primarch, you know? And all hell starts breaking loose. And then on top of that, freaking Dreadclaw, drop pods start smashing through, everything like that. You have basically just, it's insane. So the Black Legion's coming in, the 13th, yeah, they're coming in with the 13th Crusade. They are unleashing hell. The first company with Terminators, they are getting annihilated. You know, you have you know, basically some of Abaddon's finest warriors in there, like wreaking havoc, man. Terminators are dying on both sides. Veterans are dying. Both sides, you know, it is just an all-out war, right? So during that time, which is really cool, is like Krall and, you know, the Eldar are like, what crap's going on? And boom, guess what they do? They drop the status field. You know, Guilliman basically dies. They do some psychic magic powers with, you know, the Eldar, like probes his mind, basically kills off his mind and stuff. And basically has to heal his mind and all the other stuff. And then Khal, you know, he's just got this like huge badass piece of armor, drops it on Rabute, and next thing you know, he's up alive, walking around, and he just starts unleashing hell. You know, he is just killing off Black Legionnaires left and right, slaughtering like the little bees they are. You know, Calgar is swarmed, he's all on top of it. He's basically getting wrecked. And, you know, just Calgar just unleashes, you know, and just starts wailing. All the Ultramarines rally around him. Next thing you know, boom, just his strategic mind just starts going to work. And next thing you know, they are dropping like flies. Basically, the whole assault just gets annihilated. And Calgar basically gets pulled out by Guilliman, you know, and he's all like, oh. You know, it's an incredible scene when you read it. I don't know how else to describe it, but it was just, you know, Guilliman's just like wrecking shop, and it's probably one of the coolest things that I've read in quite some time, especially out of a codex or a supplement, because a lot of times it's kind of brief. So they go through that, and then Oh, the one thing I want to add during that whole time is Calgar wants him to stop and not to not to do the status field and release all that. And Tigerius, because you know he's got the psychic presence, he basically tells him to go ahead and do it during that time. And that's kind of what started the whole thing. And the next thing you know, Guilliman is just alive, wrecking shop. You know, the Black Templars are fighting. Everyone's fighting. It is just one of the coolest scenes if you've ever read it. I know some of y'all won't, but I'm kind of giving y'all a brief overview to kind of help with that. So, okay, so then after that really cool battle where basically Guilliman just takes control of, you know, the Ultramarines there at his shrine. Then he goes back, you know, they kind of do like a little like crowning. Well, first of all, what he does is basically he goes back to the Strategem where they're trying to destroy all the basically incursions. And Guilliman just basically uses his Primarch just awesomeness and basically, I think it says in like a couple weeks, basically he just wipes out the invasion. He uses all this different things to basically off McCrag. He basically kills off the invasion and starts working his way out and everything like that. He kills, you know, he basically within the span of like 2 weeks, just basically pinpoint accuracy takes out every single presence that the Black Legion has on McCrag and just slowly decimates everything. His strikes are just phenomenal. It's what you would expect from a Primarch fighting a normal captain on the other side. Just boom, 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 okay, you're done. And that's basically what happens. So then, basically, after that, he takes control of Ultramar. They do some crazy... are we to that point yet? No, I don't think we are. So then we're going to jump on to basically the... You know, as you've seen on the map, there's huge warp storms. There's huge warp storms going everywhere, and this kind of leads into why those warp storms are going on. So we'll get to that. Okay, so what happens is they kind of go into the warp real quick, which unveils kind of what we're probably going to see with, you know, we've all seen the starter boxes for the Nurgle and everything like that. The reason why is that, so Magnus from Tzeentch, you know, is unleashed Hell and Fenris, the Planet of Sorcerers has kind of popped up in the Fenris system, you know, all that other stuff if you read all those books. So that's all going on. And then they kind of lead into like Fulgrim's kind of a little bit annoyed that, you know, Guilliman's back. He's like, didn't I kill that piece of crap, you know? But what they really focus in on is, you know, Angron's really not mentioned. You know, Khorne's kind of a part of this, but Angron's really not mentioned. They don't really kind of delve into him. What they do dive in is Mortarion. And Mortarion really hasn't, and Nurgle really hasn't had their presence felt. So that kind of leads into that, because Mortarion, as you read through it, he kind of describes him as him being a little annoyed and kind of PO'd at the situation. So he wants to have more of a impact, which is definitely why I think, you know, the starter box you're going to see Nurgle and you're going to see the Ultramarines, because it's going to kind of go along with the story that's kind of being unveiled. So then, you know, basically Guilliman takes control of McCrag. He does that. And then they do the ceremony where they kind of crown him as, oh, you know, it's basically the unremembered empire all over again where they're crowning Guilliman. This time they're not crowning Sanguinius. They're crowning Guilliman as kind of the savior. You know, he's back. He's going to rescue McCrag and everything and the whole Ultramar empire. So they go through that. Let's see here. So then what happens is that they give him an amulet. And it's kind of been, how do I say this? How do they describe it? So it's basically been, God, I don't even know the words for this. So it's basically been, there's been a demon presence already in there from Fulgrim and everything. He wants to kind of mess with Guilliman's head, so he gives it to the Arch Commander. Next thing you know, Guilliman's feeling funny, blah, blah, blah. You know, everything's like crazy going on. He kind of realizes it's got a psychic presence to it, destroys the amulet, the mutant pops out, they kill it, you know, all that other stuff. So Fulgrim's trying to play a way to mess with them, you know, just F with his brother, you know. I mean, they're always trying to F with each other, and so that's basically what they do. So then in Warzone, so basically, Guilliman starts taking back the Ultramar Empire, he starts going to each planet, but a plague comes about, and, you know, little Nurgle plague, little rot, little cool stuff. So, and what happens is Nurgle kind of has the plague, and what he does is when Guilliman gets close, the plague disappears. So he's messing with them, right? So Guilliman's spending like months and months traveling from planet to planet trying to get, you know, his troops back in order. And then finally, Voldos, and they talk about it, and they're like, we got to do something because it's not helping, because every single time you leave, the plague comes back. So they decide that they are going to start a great crusade, basically. He's going to gather all the ships and everything like that, try to get to Terra. And that's where the story kind of leads into the next big thing that's going to happen. Okay, so then they start going into the warp, you know, trying to get to Terra. They go through, they battle on planets, they do all kinds of crazy stuff. And then basically, the Changer of Ways, Fate Weaver's involved in this, which is another cool, you know, just another big character coming into this. So Fate Weaver's got this plan. He's got everything just tricked just right. So basically, it pushes Guilliman and all this big, huge, gigantic fleet to the Maelstrom. And if you've read any fluff on the Maelstrom, you know that that's led by the Red Corsairs, Huron, Blackheart. You know, it's so basically they lead them to there. There's a huge ambush, and basically, I think during the time Guilliman loses like a third of his fleet, and then during that battle he loses another third of his fleet. And, you know, his gigantic fleet is just getting destroyed as they're going on through the warp and everything like that. And then they finally get ambushed by the Red Corsairs, you know, and all the other Chaos guys there. And they basically, you know, let's see here. How do I explain this part? Okay, so then basically the Black Fortress pops out. They start assaulting Macroge's Honor, which is Guilliman's flagship. Then, you know, Sicarius is there. They're trying to destroy all the demons. You know, all kinds of stuff. Saint Celestine's fighting. You know, Greyfax is fighting. Everyone's trying their best to try to stem the tide. And then finally, basically, they get overwhelmed. Guilliman actually gets captured. Fate Weaver during this whole time, Fate Weaver's been kind of getting in Guilliman's mind and giving him doubts and everything like that. So finally, when this escalates to the very end, Fate Weaver has kind of got a little bit in Guilliman's mind, so he's able to capture him. He binds his mind, and then they're able to bind Guilliman like the Red Corsairs and all the other demons and stuff. So they're finally able to capture him. And then the weirdest thing is, you would think they would just kill him, right? That they would kill everyone, and they wouldn't even bother with it, right? But, you know, it's one of those things where you always see like the enemy do something stupid, like in a big long out drama. So guess what happens? I'm going to guess that y'all kind of know. They capture him, and then they lock him away on the Black Fortress. Blackstone Fortress, you know, it's one of the things that they did capture the Red Corsairs do have. Very dominant, very powerful, very, very, very powerful space station. So it's just unbelievable the amount of damage and all the arcane technology that's in there. So they capture and they lock him away. And which kind of leads us to the next thing. It's just one thing after the other. So they've got them all locked up. Okay, so as they have them locked on the Blackstone Fortress, wild and crazy stuff happens where it's Khorne, and he unleashes a basic an armada at the Blackstone Fortress, you know. And it's Khorne, so what does Khorne want? Blood for the blood god. He wants blood to flow. So guess what happens? Khorne assaults. You know, you've got berserkers, you've got demons assaulting the Blackstone Fortress, which I thought was all chaos, but you know, that's how chaos works, and I think that's kind of where it leads into this. So then, chaos is fighting each other. You got Khorne battling Tzeentch, you know, blood's being spilled, Red Corsairs are dying, everything and all this other stuff is going on, and then, magical little warp gateway, you know, from the webway portal flicks open, and some magical, crazy, weird guys come through. Dressed in black armor. Kind of look like dark angels. they have a leader with them, and they also have Harlequins with them. And a mysterious guy in a black robe with in a white robe with a sword attached to his back. They get to Guilliman. They're like, "Hey, you want out?" Guilliman's like, "Yeah, sure." Cypher's like, "Hey, we'll let you out, but you got to do one thing for me. I need to accompany with you, talk to the Emperor." Guilliman's hesitant, realizes, and he's like, "Yeah, sure." Shakes his hand. They go through that whole buddy-buddy thing, and next thing you know, Guilliman's out, running amok. Cypher's running around with him. And also, so then after that, they start escaping. They start going through the Blackstone Fortress. There's another webway portal kind of in the middle of the Blackstone Fortress they need to get to. Red Corsairs kind of know about this, you know, Chaos Fate Weaver, all the other stuff's going on. So they start converging. There's a whole bunch of huge battles going on. Khorne's coming, and then my boy, Skarbrand, is there too. So this is when you kind of realize how badass Guilliman is that, you know, Skarbrand used to be one of Khorne's favorite lieutenants, so he's an utter badass. And so they start going through, and, you know, there is fighting going on. You know, Ultramarines are dying, everyone's dying, it's kind of cool. Then Guilliman stands up, and, you know, as they get to the webway portal, they start going through. Guilliman's like, "Y'all go through." Voldos is right there, and they're trying to, you know, trying to get everyone through the webway portal to get where they need to go. So they can go basically to Terra, because that's where the webway portal is supposed to take them, because, you know, with all the Eldar and everything, they've got their own secret and they know what to do, so the Harlequins are there helping them out. And then, you know, they're fighting, they're doing everything like that, and Skarbrand and Guilliman start going toe-to-toe. You know, Guilliman is battling him, you got the axes, they're swinging, it is just an epic, epic fight. Guilliman is probably getting the best of Skarbrand right now, which is damn near impressive. So he is chopping him up, he's taking his own wounds, he starts noticing in his mind that all he wants to do is kill. You know, Skarbrand does have that rage thing that kind of spreads to everyone. So as he's doing this, him and Guilliman are fighting. He kind of realizes that, you know, if I stay and do this, yeah, I'll beat him. But at the same time, I'll probably lose the gateway, and I probably won't make it to where I need to go. I need to go talk to the Emperor. So his Primarch psyche, you know, is just stronger than everyone else's. So he kind of realizes that. Hits Skarbrand a couple times, pushes him back, and then unleashes his bolter. His, like, you know, heavy bolter on his thing, and just starts taking chunks out of Skarbrand. Skarbrand's, you know, getting backed up. He's basically getting annihilated. And then he starts running towards Guilliman. Guilliman steps through the webway portal, closes, boom. Who knows what happens on the Blackstone Fortress, you know, but my guess is Skarbrand probably just starts ripping through Red Corsairs and all hell starts breaking loose. Once again, Khorne is involved in this. So then, next leads them through the webway portal. Okay, so next, as they're going through the webway portal, the Eldar telling Guilliman, they're talking to him. Magnus is, and this is kind of where Magnus starts really coming into play, because he had a little bit, him and Fate Warrior had a lot to do with them getting to the Maelstrom and basically getting wiped out. So now Magnus' plan is really coming to effect. He wants Guilliman to go through the webway portal, almost reach Terra, and then boom, Magnus is going to spring his trap. So basically what happens is they go through the webway portal, they're on the moon, and Magnus has got a perfect trap set for him. So then what happens is Magnus basically unleashes his trap, and as they're trying to close the webway portal, it kind of goes a little bazonkers and bazooki. You know, it's all crackling and everything, and then the rubric marines start coming out. So, yeah. So the trap's been unleashed. Now they're on the moon, and there's a whole bunch of fighting going on. You got Thousand Suns basically just annihilating them. They're basically annihilating Guilliman's force. The Skitarii, Black Templars, what's left of the Ultramarines, Saint Celestians flying around, trying to kill everything like that. And, you know, it is basically an all-out brawl. So now, Magnus comes out, and he looks at Guilliman, and it's about to be probably one of the greatest fights I've ever seen. So you have a Demon Primarch, and you have a normal Primarch. They are going toe-to-toe. Guilliman's trying to get the best of him. No psychic powers, so Magnus is just wreaking hell on Guilliman. He is unleashing psychic powers left and right, blasting him, taking chips out of his armor. Guilliman is getting his ass whooped. Magnus is talking crap to him. Guilliman's trying to do his best. You know, he's shooting him with his bolter, trying his best, getting in close combat a little bit, chopping him up, you know, doing what he can. But at the same time, Magnus is one of the greatest psychers in the galaxy. And on top of that, he's also a demon Primarch. So it is not looking good for Guilliman. On the other side, the Ultramarines are getting wiped out. The Rubric Marines with the Terminators and everything, you know, Cybolts, all the other stuff, you know, that they have, just basically it's what would play out when you really think about Fluff and with the kind of weapons the Thousand Sons have. AP3 weapons, Marines are dying in groves. You know, it's just, it's how you would think it would play out. Then something happens that changes the complete tide of the battle. Ships start coming from Terra, and on these ships are beautiful guys wearing golden armor, Sisters of Silence, and basically what happens after that is it turns into the Battle of Prospero for the Thousand Sons. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Sisters of Silence are there. They surround Guilliman. Magnus's powers kind of go null and void. Then it becomes a close combat duel. Magnus is good in close combat, but let's be honest, Guilliman's beat up. So needless to say, they start wreaking havoc on each other. Now it's an all-out brawl. It's an all-out fist fight. Magnus is slicing up Guilliman. Guilliman's slicing up Magnus. Rubric Marines are starting to die just by the the Psychers and stuff and all the people that control the Rubric Marines are now getting null and voided by the Sisters of Battle. You got Adeptus Custodes there. It is not looking good for them. So Magnus and Guilliman, it's probably just like an epic battle. It's just like, I'm thinking like Frieza. I'm thinking Goku fighting Vegeta in the first battle where they are just going toe-to-toe, fighting each other, you know. Guilliman's over here screaming Kaioken, Vegeta's getting all pissed and angry, and, you know, they are just kicking each other's butt. So then, I guess her name is Veilwalker, basically comes to Guilliman's aid, kind of. Then, as the Sisters of Silence are surrounding, Magnus's powers are going null and void. Basically, they throw Magnus into the webway portal. She vanishes, he vanishes, kind of gets locked away. And you don't really know what kind of happens in there. But basically, they locked Magnus in the webway portals. He's a smart guy, he'll get out. No problem right there. So then, after that epic battle, then the Rubric Marines, Occult Terminators, and the Psychers, you know, the basically librarians for the Thousand Sons, basically get between it. It's the classic, you know, they're in the middle right here. You have the Ultramarines and all his forces and the Adeptus Custodians, and then you have Guilliman and his two squads of Sisters of Silence, and they're stuck in the middle. So needless to say, Guilliman comes up with the Sisters of Silence. The librarians are right here. There's like 20, 30 of them. Who knows how many of them? There's a ton of them. And, you know, they're casting psychic spells and all this other stuff. Guilliman comes in and basically just starts slicing them up, wreaking havoc, and destroys that entire thing. Rubric Marines start falling, and the occult Terminators are basically getting wiped out. So it becomes a slaughter fest for the Thousand Sons. Like I said, Battle of Prospero all over again. They basically get annihilated and wiped off the mat. The Primarch's locked in the webway portal, and everyone's happy and cheerful, right? No, not really. Guilliman's still got his stuff to do, so he's got to get to Terra. Okay, so Guilliman, everyone, they board all the transports. They fly back to Terra. There's kind of a little celebration as they're walking through the streets, you know. Then the big thing happens, and they get before the Golden Throne. So I'm going to kind of go over this step by step. So, beautiful Golden Throne's there. Boom. Guilliman, you know, he's got Voltas. He's got everyone right there. He's got his, you know, so he gets to the door, and, you know, with the Adeptus Custodians, they're like, who are you? What do you need to do? Guilliman's like, hey, you just need to go in there and talk to my dad. And they're kind of wary. Okay. You know, Cypher makes his argument, hey, I need to go do this. And then Bellis Crawl has he's got something he needs to speak to him too. So they basically only allow Guilliman to go in. And during that time, Guilliman, you know, Cypher's ready. I'm about ready to go and see him. Guilliman then has all this planned out. Basically has Cypher arrested. He knows what the sword is. And as they say in there, it makes him shudder. He will not let something like that in the presence of his father. Cypher gets locked up. Gets captured by the Adeptus Custodes. He really can't do much. The other Dark Angels with him can't really do much. They are Adeptus Custodes, and they would beat the crap out of them and kill them in less than 2 or 3 seconds. So Cypher accepts that, and kind of goes on his way. Carl goes up and talks to the head person on Terra for the Mechanicus. They do some binary stuff, start talking a little bit. Kind of don't know what's going on there. And then he kind of walks off and goes off on his little merry way, heads back to Mars later on in the story. And then they let Guilliman pass. Guilliman walks into the throne room, to the Golden Throne, and just disappears for a couple of hours. And at this point, I'm like, sweet, as I'm reading. I'm like, sweet, we're going to hear what the Emperor tells Guilliman. Nah, nada. GW, good job. Pissed me off, but good job. I know you weren't going to release exactly what happens. So the Guilliman comes out. Okay, Guilliman comes walking out. Just normal stoic look. Everyone just like me who's reading this, or, you know, the people there, you know, are just like, okay, what happened? What did the Emperor tell you? Doesn't say anything. Says, hey, need the High Lords of Terra, come to my beck and call. Then he starts working through his plan. His stratagem starts going on. He needs to go and take out, there's a new warp rift, which you've seen on the map, is developed. Planets are going dark. Everything else is going on. He's going to start rolling a new Great Crusade. And this leads us into the video that GW just released. Guilliman is releasing his new crusade. Krall is on Mars, developing new Space Marines. And all hell's about to break loose in the 40k universe, and 8th edition is going to drop. There we go, guys. That is Rise of the Primarch. TJ's interpretation, my basic interpretation on what happened, how it got us to 8th Crusade, got us to 8th edition and the 40k universe as we see it now. I'm pretty sure they will release other stuff on what's going on, how the crusade is going, but other than that, if you have not read this and you don't like reading GW Fluff, read this. This is epically cool in the essence of Fluff. This is like reading the Horus Heresy, where you're actually seeing the Horus Heresy books. You're actually seeing stuff that we've only read about bits and where we've only read little blibs and other just very small, minute stuff that's just always been released, and now they've actually filled in all the gaps. This is the most. This pushes the storyline farther than anything you could ever imagine. Primarch coming back just leads into the great battles that we will see in 8th edition coming out. I am so stoked. Hope after listening to this, y'all are just as stoked as I am. And thanks for watching, guys. I am pumped for 8th edition. I hope you are too. But like I said, if you haven't done it, go read this. Forget the rules. The rules are kind of dwarfy in general, you know. The formations really aren't that good. Guilliman is, without a delivery system, he's kind of dwarfy. Once he gets over there, he will wreak havoc on your entire army, but he's got to get there. There's really not much to this book rule-wise. I think GW put this out more for the fluff. And if you want to go buy it or get a used copy of it, I don't care. Go out and read it. It is probably some of the best reading you will do. So once again, guys, thanks for watching. Come back to y'all next week or maybe the week after with some more stuff. And also, hey, leave a comment in the field. Leave me a comment on the video if you want me to discuss and go over any kind of other fluff, anything you can possibly think of. I will just do this for you guys. As you can tell, I have a ton of books. Pretty much anything you can think of. I have a ton of codexes. I have older codexes. So if there is something that you guys want me to go over and want me to talk about, let me know in the comments, and I will be happy to give you my synopsis of it. And thanks a lot, guys.